Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Superman the Escape, an over 400-foot shuttle roller coaster that had a very troubled start using technology that was way ahead of its time. Roller coaster records have consistently been a huge bonus to marketing a new attraction. Tallest, fastest, longest, steepest, most inversions, no matter the records, parks wanted it. This was no more prevalent than the coaster wars of the 90s and early 2000s. Parks around the world wanted the next record-breaking thing, repeatedly trying to outdo the competition to show what they offered was the best. While the results of this were some of the biggest and most exciting attractions to ever exist, it did feature one negative. Coasters were starting to appear that broke these records by doing only one thing. Rather than a complete layout offering a full-length experience, they would focus on that one record with a single element to achieve what they wanted to be, and that was it. In the coaster war, every single foot, every single inversion, or every single speed increase over the competition mattered. While you could say the coaster war started earlier, it is normally considered to have begun with Cedar Point and Magnum XL 200. The first coaster to stand more than 200 feet opened in 1989. What followed only attempted to offer more than what had come before. In the previous decade, only 122 roller coasters were built. In the 10 years following, over 400 would be. One such record that parks would want to have first was the first coaster in the world to go faster than 100 miles per hour. There were many rumours that rides as early as the 1920s achieved this, but that could never be proven. During the mid-1990s, work began to try and achieve this for real. Six Flags were a constant innovator in the attractions they would offer. To be able to achieve the 100 miles per hour speed with a traditional full circuit roller coaster, the ride's lift hill would have to exceed 350 feet. In the mid-90s, this was thought to be basically impossible, with the current highest roller coaster barely over 200. It wouldn't be until 96 when Fujiyama opened at 259 feet that 300 feet would even be close. A different way to achieve this had to be used. Announced on January 5th, 1996, Six Flags Parks would usher in the next generation of thrills with the announcement of their brand new roller coaster located at Six Flags Magic Mountain.
The wait is over. Superman the Escape. Up to 100 miles per hour. 41 stories. And a heart-stopping backwards plummet. Superman the Escape. World's tallest, world's fastest, world's only.
It would be the tallest, fastest, and most technologically advanced roller coaster ever built, that would accelerate riders from 0 to 100 miles per hour in just 7 seconds. Climbing a record-breaking 41 stories into the sky, 415 feet up a tower. Estimated to cost $20 million, the new attraction would far surpass the previous highest cost attraction in the park, the $11 million Batman the Ride. While originally intended to be called Velocitron, it would be announced as Superman the Escape, the first roller coaster in the world to be themed after the iconic superhero. It would be designed by Intamin and planned to open in late May 1996. In a decade filled with attractions, Superman the Escape would fly alone, raising the stakes in the thrill ride's arms race. Before it had even opened, many claimed that Six Flags had won the coaster war. The world's tallest and fastest roller coaster would use electromagnetic catapults to attain the long-coveted speed of 100 miles per hour, shattering the record of the previous speed holders in the US, Steel Phantom and Desperado. You knew that was coming.
That was stupid. That was really stupid.
The ride would race along a flat stretch of track, reaching its top speed in 7 seconds before curving up and climbing 370 feet of the 415-foot vertical tower, giving riders 6.5 seconds of weightlessness before plummeting back to the ground. To achieve this, the ride would employ linear, synchronous motors, making use of the same forces that cause two magnets to repel each other. The ride's 6-ton cars are equipped with powerful magnets that pass over electromagnetic elements placed every few feet along the track. The magnets are repelled by each successive element, pushing riders along faster and faster, reaching an acceleration force of around 1.5 Gs. With 2 parallel tracks accommodating 1 car each, it would stretch 900 feet from the centre of the park to its northern boundary, before heading up and reaching the point of floating, called airtime. Not only would this ride go fast, but it would also feature huge amounts of airtime compared to other companies' offerings. So much so that a banana would float in front of you during the top of the ride. Why a banana, you may ask? Well,
look, we're weightless, me and my coaster riding banana.
on the return trip back down, the electromagnetic elements can be reversed to slow the car as it enters the station. The use of LSM launches was groundbreaking technology at the time. A complicated computer system would be required to monitor the exact position of the train on the track. The LSM system was created by Intrasys, Innovative Transport Systems. They were founded in 1989 in Germany, and they would provide both the linear drive system and the eddy current brakes. This system used was also designed to be used in Ronald Reagan's Star Wars defense program. This would be the first use of an LSM launch on a roller coaster. It would later be adapted to power electric catapults that could fling fighter jets weighing as much as 37 tons off the deck of an aircraft carrier at takeoff speed. This brand new, technologically advanced launch system came with issues. Construction of the ride was completed in early 1996, with it being topped off in May, just a month before the ride was set to open. Just 2 weeks before the June 1st opening, it was announced the ride would be delayed. Six Flags said the ride would hopefully open mid-June. It would be over a year later that the ride would publicly open. Superman the Escape was delayed for months to tinker and iron out the kinks. The park stated that the ride had been delayed due to a late arrival of parts necessary in the construction of the attraction, and this caused the testing of the launch system to be behind. The power required to fuel the ride's acceleration would be so high that it briefly doubles the entire park's electricity used for a few seconds. The stators along the track would have to be fired a fraction of a second after the one that came before, directly as the train was about to reach them. This caused a huge headache with the computer system of the time, and tinkering was required to get the trains up to the 100 miles per hour promised speed. As the June 1st opening got closer, the ride was able to only reach around 60 to 70 miles per hour. One newspaper described it as more of a mild Clark Kent during test runs, not a Superman. Engineering teams worked around the clock to try and get it up to the promised speed. The troubled Superman attraction began to be the focus of rumour. The ride was too fast for the ride vehicles, causing the wheels to burn. It couldn't go faster than 60 miles per hour. If it went up to full speed, it would snap off the top of the tower. Even rumours stating that it had flown off the top of the track. The park, however, continued to state they were fine-tuning the launch system, and by August 1996, they began to state they had no estimate of when it may open. By December 1996, it had reached the 90 to 95 miles per hour range. The park offered select pass members a ride on the attraction in November 1996. It still did not reach the 100 miles per hour speed, but a few lucky people did get to fly on Superman. Magic Mountain was proud that during the park's 25th anniversary, the park was once again making theme park history. The ride was actually the basis for the first website of the park ever. This was full of information on the upcoming attraction. With the continued delay, roller coaster fans began to pressure the park to find out when it would open, but the delay just became longer and longer. The official opening would not make the 25th anniversary and would in fact open the following year in 1997.
It has amazing speed, amazing G-forces, and an amazing amount of airtime. Coaster enthusiasts will travel hundreds of miles for a moment of airtime. And this one gives you more than 6 seconds of it. On a number of categories, this one is definitely on the top of the list.
Due to the delays, the 96 attendance was poor for the park, but they were extremely hopeful that this would be fixed when it finally opened. In March 1997, Superman the Escape would finally become the world's tallest and fastest roller coaster. Well, kind of. Over on the other side of the world, at Dreamworld on the Gold Coast of Australia, another Intamin shuttle roller coaster using the same technology had managed to open first. And while not as tall as Superman the Escape, it had beaten the Californian version to be the first coaster to go 100 miles per hour. Not only had Superman missed the park's anniversary, but it wasn't even now the first of its kind to open. Superman the ride would have to share the title of the world's fastest roller coaster. What was a big success for the Six Flags chain was the use of Superman for the ride's theming. Six Flags said that combining the Superman brand with Six Flags' new Out of This World ride experience was the perfect marriage of entertainment and innovation. The adventure begins at the Fortress of Solitude, a crystalline ice cavern. Confronted by enemy forces inside the fortress, guests would escape through a special effects tunnel in the 15 passenger vehicles. The earlier plans for the theming, when it was called Velocitron, would have had the station set in ancient ruins, as well as a laser on top. With a total track length of 1,315 feet and a ride time of just around 30 seconds, the experience would be extremely short. However, it could be extremely fun. Just 2 years after opening, Cedar Point would announce their plans to make roller coaster history once again, when it unveiled Millennium Force, announced as the world's tallest and fastest roller coaster. Six Flags Magic Mountain were not happy, and they challenged the ride's title, stating Superman was taller and faster, which technically it was. Millennium Force would be 310 feet high and reach 92 miles per hour. The park stated that their ride already held those titles in the Guinness Book of Records. Six Flags said that Superman the Escape set the industry on fire with its record-breaking dimensions. Reaching those types of feat in the industry is monumental, and they were not going to let this record go without a fight. The response from Cedar Point: Superman was not a roller coaster. It was a free-fall drop tower that sparked a fierce debate if Superman counted for the record or not. For Six Flags, they just said, just open a Guinness Book of Records. You will see. The argument didn't last long, however, because in 2003, Cedar Point would take the record without any questions. For 2 years at least. The coaster war was still in full effect, and it would be Six Flags that could once again say, with no opposition, that they operated the tallest coaster in the world. Superman the Escape would get some changes over the years, undergoing a major refurbishment in 2011. As part of the refurbishment, the ride would get a new name, Superman Escape from Krypton. The trains would now launch backwards, with riders facing down the drop when at the highest point. The ride was also repainted with a new colour scheme. Over the years since, it has been often hoped that one track would face forward and the other backwards, but this has never happened. Just a year after, a drop tower was added to the side of the coaster with Lex Luthor's Drop of Doom. Superman the Escape only did one thing, but it did that thing extremely well. Over the years, it seems at times Superman doesn't quite have the launch speed and height that it used to, but still, it offers a great experience, even if it is a really short one. The LSM launch created for the ride was way ahead of its time. It wouldn't be until over a decade later that the system became more popular and easy to operate on roller coasters around the world, becoming the more popular launch system. It would keep the title of joint world's fastest coaster for 4 years, until it was exceeded by Dodonpa at Fuji-Q Highlands. That story is for another time. Six Flags had not won the coaster war with Superman. The battle would go even taller, faster, and steeper. While Superman no longer sits atop of his ride in Magic Mountain, Six Flags took a leap of faith and dreamed big to create something special, something that would break records, a task that seemed impossible. It isn't the most forceful launch, it is extremely short, and for quite a few didn't even count as the tallest coaster in the world. But it can't be argued that the attraction remains as an example of a huge leap forward in technological advancements for roller coasters, one which captured the attention of fans around the world. Even I had heard of Superman the Escape, as a young kid living 5,000 miles away from Magic Mountain, though that may have been in part due to Roller Coaster Tycoon 2. There are those that dislike coasters that only do one thing for a record. However, if the experience is fun, offers something unique, and dreams big, then it can never be considered a bad ride to me. Superman the Escape may have had a troubled start, but by the time the kinks were worked out, the joint world's fastest and contested tallest roller coaster in the world could certainly fly. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Six Flags. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to join the expedition and follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming episodes. Do you think shuttle coasters count in world records? Let me know in the comments below. A special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel, and we will see you next time.